Hello, Galaxy! I'm Chris Pirillo, and I'm here today to give you my comparison in the experiences with my iPad Pro 10.5-inch units, and comparing that against the Google Pixelbook, a Chromebook, which I just picked up. Now, here's the thing. I can only keep one of these. It's not that I don't have space here necessarily, it's just that in terms of what one of these is going to be able to do for me, the other one, for the most part, should be able to do for me. So I've kind of got to decide. I've been living with the iPad Pro for some time, as you know. I think I've reviewed it in the past. I've certainly talked about it. I have had certain issues with it, even though I am currently running the latest beta of iOS 11, 11.2 to be specific. I'm still not sure I like iOS on the iPad, and I'm definitely not sure I'm using the iPad to its fullest potential. That's me. That's my workflow. So I am genuinely curious to know, as I continue to now play with a Pixelbook, a Chrome OS machine, if it will get me further along or find its way deeper into my workflow. Because quite honestly, I don't use the iPad all that much. At times when I'm doing a live broadcast, either in this channel or the other channel, youtube.com/LockerGnome, or even on Twitch, twitch.tv/Chris Pirillo. Those links are in the video description, by the way. I may pull up side by side the Twitch chat as well as the Discord chat, which of course you can join 24/7 if you're either a sub of mine on Twitch or if you're a patron of mine, patreon.com/Chris Pirillo. But I could do the same thing on the Chromebook, and things would work just as well on the Chromebook as they do on the iPad. So I thought, why not give you a rundown of the things that I've been looking at in terms of comparisons. I should talk about how lightweight the iPad is, certainly, and then, of course, the detachable keyboard, which is nice, but this is not a use case of mine. Holding the tablet and carrying it around with me, I can count on one hand how many times I've used the camera, either this one or the front-facing camera, on the iPad, and I probably just going to begin with that point because the camera was a tool that I've got in my notes in terms of what I was looking to compare these two against. And by the way, there is no contest. The cameras on the iPad Pro are superior in comparison. And you'll have to pardon the note I'm using is green, so now I'm going to turn green. Maybe I can manually adjust that by turning on night shift, which is something, by the way, you can do in a Chrome flag on the Chromebook. There's a night shift mode, in case you were wondering. At least at this time, it's something that you can turn on in flags on Chrome OS versus it being baked in to iOS in general. And so I have, this inherent need to change the color of this. I'm going to go back to white. Is that a little better for everybody? Okay, we're just going to have a white day here with my X-Wing uniform. It's not a costume, not a hoodie. I wear this in battle. If I'm going in for battle with the elements outside. Not going to do that right now. The cameras, on the iPad Pro are awesome, like by comparison. But the camera on the Chromebook is ample for doing some kind of like hangout with somebody else, or like a webcast, like if you were just doing it with other people from around the world and you were having a meeting. It is not a high quality camera, though I guess according to specs it is capable of recording 720p at 60 frames per second. In here, I will tell you the Chromebook camera itself was not that great. It was a very low light situation. I wouldn't even say lack of prime light in here now that I'm basically surrounded by cool white bulbs, at least as far as the temperature is concerned of the bulbs, the light temperature. If you were measuring in Kelvin, which I'm sure many of you have done in the past, I was not impressed with the camera. But I'm not sure I've used the camera all that much in the iPad Pro, nor would I likely be using the camera all that much in the iPad Pro. Would I want an amazing camera? Yes. Especially when I'm looking at the price between these two, because each one of them ran or has run or will run around $1,000. And I'm not sure if I can see, and you may have watched my previous video talking about my initial impressions of the a Pixelbook, which is a Chromebook, being worth $1,000. I'm not sure it's there. Like, in terms of an experience, maybe 500. Mind you, I don't think the experience on the iPad Pro with iOS, and this is the one with ProMotion, is worth that amount either. I just find that I don't know where it fits in my life. And I mean, especially at that price level. I'm not talking about the design of the product, because the designs are radically different. I mean, they're both sleek, svelte. They each serve a different purpose. Obviously, the iPad Pro has the detachable keyboard versus the Pixelbook, which can be flipped back into like a tablet mode, or you could even put it into a tent mode. I'm not really going to give a software demonstration or a hardware demonstration, but it is certainly versatile. The Chromebook is a bit more versatile than the iPad Pro, and I'd be inclined to use the Chromebook here, the Pixelbook, in this tent mode more frequently than I might, be willing to take the iPad away from the keyboard and then use it, here, there, and wherever. That's something that I have to consider when I'm doing this comparison, because I only want to keep one of these products around. I'm not someone who's, really into, different colors in terms of the design, or what, types of colors you could buy, like in relation to the iPad versus the Pixelbook. I'm very well served by gray or silver or black outright. I mean, I think I've got, this is what they're calling it, space gray today. I don't really have a lot of gold products, minus one, a golden Darth Vader head. It's like the idol from Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, wasn't that the hand signal he gave? Anyway, I will move the gold object over here. It's not real gold, by the way. That's plastic. Either of these, not plastic. That's nice. I mean, if you're going to be spending the money, I'd hope you'd have something that would feel sturdy and rugged. And I would say between the two, they feel differently solid. Yes, you have less of a bezel outlining or surrounding the screen on the iPad Pro versus a larger bezel specifically on the Pixelbook, but that has not detracted from my particular experience between the two. Notifications on the iPad are an absolute nightmare, as is the case with every iOS device right now. Apple really doesn't have an idea what it's doing with notifications or management. I mean, they apparently only receive 1 or 2 notifications a day on their devices, or don't bother testing the usability of notifications. But notifications on Chrome OS are far more elegant, far more useful. It's not just cleaner design wise, the notification center, but it's just easier to get through the notifications that I might receive on Chrome OS, specifically on the Pixelbook. This is my experience, versus the notifications on the iPad. And these things, I know I keep saying Chromebook and Chrome OS, and I know this is the Pixelbook, but it speaks to the experience of the Pixelbook. The software is critical for me in terms of having a good or a poor or lackluster experience. In terms of multitasking or app switching, it's relatively simple to do on the or either one of them, honestly. But the Chrome OS experience is more like a traditional laptop type of experience, whether you're running Windows or Mac OS or maybe another flavor of Linux. The window management is certainly different than it is on iOS, and I think between the two, I believe I prefer the window management style of Chrome OS on the Chromebook versus the window management style of iOS on the iPad running the latest version of iOS. I mean, yes, you can do multi-window and split screen and all that, but I don't find myself using it for that all that much. And I mean, it's a scenario where I know you are probably going to be using or would be using these devices differently than I have and than I do. In terms of unlocking, I would say it's far more straightforward with the iPad with the Touch ID sensor. For now, who knows when that's going to disappear? Anybody's guess. Though I've kind of, this is really a pattern that I've had over the past few years. Really slowed down on my excitement in relation to new releases of the iPad, despite improvements, leaps and bounds in terms of what kind of experience they may be able to deliver, specifically with the ProMotion display on the iPad Pro, the new iPad Pro. The apps are better optimized, I believe, for specifically the Pixelbook. You can scale up the resolution or scale it up, down, whatever, sideways. You can run Android apps. You can run web apps. Anything that you can run on Google Chrome, you can effectively run on the Pixelbook. On the iPad, though, there are a lot of apps that have yet to really truly be optimized for this screen and this experience, the iPad screen and the iPad experience. That's one of the reasons why I found the larger screened iPad to be maddening to me in terms of user experience. And this is certainly, a stark contrast between the two. The Pixelbook, I think, has a better way of managing multiple apps, better window management, better, app scaling, whatever you want to say. There's a lot more fine-tuned control that you would have on a Pixelbook compared to the iPad Pro 10.5-inch display. Getting back, sorry if I forgot, the unlock, I did mention the iPad has it effectively with the Touch ID. You have various unlock options with the Pixelbook, but, a lot of them are tied back into your Google account, which I guess is not horrific. It's just I wish it was a lot more seamless than it is. And I know there's the beta, and I'm trying it, where you can unlock the screen of the Pixelbook with a Pixel 2 or a Pixel device, I think, or I don't know if it can be any Android device or just a Pixel device, but I've got that going on, and it's still not as seamless as I think it could be. I would appreciate, I guess, more convenient ways on device to authenticate with device. I'm not sure they got the technology baked into the product now, however. In terms of a design ethos, I think the Chromebook is definitely well on its way. The Pixelbook is on its way. It, of course, is pretty much tied into what Chrome OS can do, with updates being received, on several weeks at a time. Every Chrome OS update gets pushed down to the Pixelbook, as it does get pushed out to every particular Chromebook out there. But the in terms of me feeling like I'm using a singular operating system, it's mostly there. And I say that because running Android apps on Chrome OS is nice, on the Pixelbook is very, very nice. I really like it. But it doesn't surface the differences as coherently as I think it could, which just shows the immaturity of Android integration with Chrome OS, and then them serving it up as a premium experience, specifically on the Pixelbook. It's not where I think it could or should be. The design is coherent, it's clean, but it's not. It just doesn't feel like Chrome OS is fully baked yet. In stark contrast, iOS should be fully baked, and I still have frustrations with its design language and layout slop and issues that just don't seem to be mitigated with every new iOS release. You've got better management of the apps now in iOS 11 and assumedly moving into the future. But in terms of what an app looks like on screen, it's all contingent on the app developer versus you're using a lot of web apps on a Pixelbook, or you're using an Android app that has been optimized even for a small space, but that can't even be scaled up and zoomed, depending on how you've got the resolution set on the Pixelbook. In terms of jank, I still see it in iOS. I don't know when they're going to unlock the power of ProMotion. I assume it would be at some point in the iOS 11 future. I haven't seen a terrible amount of jank, even with Android apps, on the Pixelbook. That kind of makes me happy. It's not slapping me in the face as much though. I feel on the Chromebook as much as it might on iOS with the iPad. And even in looking at both these two and comparing the two, I kind of sit here and wonder if I need either one of them. I hate saying that like midway through this particular comparison, but I'll just continue. I'll come back to that. And if anything, the Pixelbook has kind of shown me that I really don't need the iPad. It's kind of weird to say that after having it. It's not neither one of them I think are worth the price they're asking. So in terms of price comparison, the Pixelbook is definitely not worth $1,000. Not even close. Maybe another Chromebook experience if it had a clean design, like in terms of like the logo not slapping you in the face like a lot of Chromebooks have, like, hey, we made this computer, psh, stare at our logo. I hate that. I abhor that. And that's a lot of the Chromebook alternatives out there. They're really fugly. Because the manufacturers slapped their logo right on the front. Google did not do that to its credit. In terms of voice control, that's a software issue. I found a lot of options on the Pixelbook. Of course, that's replete throughout Chrome OS. Far less maddening in terms of software and AI than Apple. I think Apple's got a long way to go in terms of artificial intelligence and baking it into a cohesive user experience. In terms of App Store availability, I really think this definitely goes to the Pixelbook. I mean, there are Chrome apps, web apps, Android apps. The Pixelbook clearly wins in this comparison. There are iPad apps available, but most of them are really not that great. It's kind of contingent on the developer, if the developer even exists on the platform, at least as far as an app experience is concerned on iOS. Definitely, I would say that the Pixelbook wins in terms of App Store availability. In terms of browser experience, I will once again give it to the Pixelbook. You can use Chrome extensions on Google Chrome on Chrome OS. It's a very nice thing to have. I kind of wish I had that power with Safari on iOS, but unfortunately I don't. In terms of animations and transitions, like I said, I've seen a lot of jank on iOS, even on the iPad. I've seen different kinds of issues with the display quality on the Pixelbook in comparison. Not just colors or saturation, but the scrolling around or doing something on the screen. It doesn't seem to be refreshing as quickly as it could be. I'm pretty sure the refresh rate is right around 60. But what I'm saying is if I scroll text and it looks like it's kind of blurring as I scroll, this is something that I've learned is a problem after you're accustomed to a refresh rate of like 120 hertz. Like if something's running at 120 frames per second, it's clean. And then you go back to something that's 60, it just doesn't look as good when you're talking about, an LCD screen by comparison. So for that, I would definitely give that kind of legibility to the iPad Pro. Animations suffer from jank on iOS versus the animations being far more clean and I guess consistent on the Pixelbook. So I think the animations are far more clean and better on the Pixelbook compared to the iPad Pro. Even with reduced motion turned on iOS, iOS has just got a long way to go in terms of being fully baked. In terms of default keyboard and typing speed, well, it's not really default keyboard, but I find that the iPad Pro is comfortable. I find that my typing speed is just fine on the iPad Pro. I've had problems toggling or accidentally triggering the Google Assistant with the Pixelbook. That has become very, very frustrating. In terms of speakers, the iPad Pro definitely wins. The speakers are far better on the iPad Pro. So if you plan on listening to music or watching video a lot without using headphones, both of them have a headphone jack. You're definitely going to want to go with the iPad Pro. Not to say that I think is the ultimate driver for what the experience could be, because there's an extension. I downloaded a Chrome extension to add an equalizer to Google Chrome, and of course Google Play, the music player on Android, which I have running on the Pixelbook, also has an equalizer. So you can adjust those things, and for the most part, it's fine. The iPad speakers, I think, are definitely producing a more rich sound without any level of tweaking, but there are ways that you can kind of slide around that and have an experience that is ample for, a laptop type of sound. In terms of a productivity promise, I do believe I could be more productive productive with a Pixelbook than I can with an iPad Pro in terms of what it is I might need, what it is that I would use, how the operating system works, the how the design kind of flows around that workflow. I feel that I could be more productive on a Chromebook compared to an iPad. In terms of battery life, I would say they feel about the same. Whether or not they are, I don't know. I tend to use the iPad until it runs out of juice, and then I plug it in. It's not a daily driver for me, and I doubt a Chromebook would be a daily driver for me as well. Both of them are nice to have, not absolute must-haves, which is why it may have taken 3 or 4 days for me to get through the battery life of the Pixelbook before I had to recharge it, compared to about the same amount of time depending on use of the iPad Pro. Neither one of these devices is worth $1,000, and I know they're begging for your money, but no, I'm just, for either one of them, they're not worth it. And this is something that I've kind of had to come to terms with. As much as I would like to keep both of them, I can't. As much as I would like to keep either one of them, I may not. But if I could sell the iPad Pro, I probably will with the keyboard, and then be done with it. There's nothing that's compelling for me, and I just don't use it all that much. And that revenue could be used to pay electric bills or water bills or health insurance or whatever happens to be around here that needs to be covered. It's not being used. I fear the same for the Pixelbook. When I'm still within my return window, so I want to take advantage of that to see if there's something that ultimately, yes, I love using it, I love having it, I love taking it here, there, wherever. But at that point, why did I spend $1,000 on something when I could have found something that could work as a Chromebook that doesn't have that is great build quality, great speed for what it is, that doesn't slap you in the face with the logo, for maybe a few $100s. That would be much more suitable for me if it's kind of a product that I'm not necessarily using consistently throughout the day, every day. I will say that I did not have a chance to compare the Apple Pencil to the Pixelbook Pen, but that said, I would still give... My dog gave a weird little howl there. I don't know if that was Wicked or Pixie. Maybe it was Jedi. Did Jedi howl? Either way, I would give it to the Pixelbook Pen because you can do a lot more with the Pixelbook Pen than you can the Apple Pencil. You've got the opportunity to, let's say, screenshot a portion of the screen with the Pixelbook Pen. You have an opportunity to use it as a laser pointer if you were doing like a remote session and doing a screencast. You have the opportunity to do other things with the Pixelbook Pen, depending on the feature that you can unlock, specifically in the status bar or system tray or whatever the hell they're calling it on the Chrome OS platform. But it would be useful. I would say I was ready to return it, but there's some usefulness to the Pixelbook Pen that I do believe can also be unlocked with a finger. I don't think you need to have a stylus like this. But if you were looking for a comparison between the two, I didn't really look at refresh rate, obviously, because I don't have an Apple Pencil, nor am I inclined to get one. But there's a lot more usefulness beyond the gimmicky, press the button and circle something to Google Assist in it, as an image comparison tool on the web. It's definitely useful. There are different things that you can do with it on Chrome OS. So, yeah, Pixelbook Pen would be an absolute win for me in my book. So those are the things that I looked at that I thought would be interesting to talk about in terms of comparison. If I missed anything, it wasn't intentional. These are the things that have been going through my head in terms of me thinking through, do I want this? Do I want to keep that? Do I want to sell that? Do I want to get rid of both? Can I keep both? I can't. All those things kind of add up in this final look at the comparison between the two. What I look for when I'm looking for either one of these. My summation is if you really, really, really want an iPad, I don't think the iPad Pro is worth the money. If you really, really, really want a Chromebook, I don't think the Pixelbook is worth the money. They are good devices for what they may do if they work into your workflow, but they're not... Oh, man, hang on. Oh no. I just noticed something. My Darth Vader helmet. It's missing its nub there. The nub got chipped off there. Oh man. I'm gonna have to return and exchange that. Gold is best. Unless it's chipped. Yeah, I got it for a collectible. It's got like boxers in there. A boxer brief. Ooh, maybe I will wear those. Better get my right size. Let me know what you think. Feel free to comment, ask questions. Feel free to pop over to the other YouTube channel, youtube.com/lockernome. That was definitely Jedi. We do a TLDR every day. On the weekends, we try to do, or we're starting to do TLDR here in this channel. So tune in, subscribe, comment, support, become a patron. Head over to patreon.com/Chris Pirillo. Become a sub. Head over to twitch.tv/Chris Pirillo. Thank you for following. Thank you for paying attention. I love you. I appreciate you. But at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. May the Force be with you.